G'day guys, and welcome to the Thunder from Down Under podcast. I'm your host, Graham Solomon. Remember, if you're watching on Facebook, smash that like button, smash the heart button, give us some love. Go to the Graham Solomon Thunder from Down Under YouTube channel, belt that subscribe button, become a member, part of the family. Hit the bell icon so you can get notified. We get notified when we've got special guests like the guy we've got sitting here right now. He is known as James the Godfather Brown. He is a lease option expert, and he's from Real Home Solutions. Welcome, James. Great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Graham. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, great to have you. I've been really looking forward to you coming on because I love lease options, and you've got a hybrid method of lease options, which I'll get you to explain a little bit later. But before we get into the lease option side of it, just tell us how you got started, what you were doing before you got into real estate, whether you're doing anything else in real estate before you got into lease options. Give us a bit of your backstory and then sort of the progression to where you've got to today, if you can.
Yeah, I'll try to keep that short because it's been a journey. I bought a house with my brother and kind of leapfrogged and realized, the power of it. In fact, my dad told me, I think when I was in college, buy a duplex, live in one side. I didn't do that, but I at least bought a house, but I just kind of took a lot of time.
Actually, James, just hang on for a sec. Sorry to cut you off. I think there's a bit of feedback. I don't know whether it's from the headphones.
It could be this mic maybe moving around.
Yeah, the mic. I think it might be the mic. We might have to get sound in. We'll have to get tech support to come in, but yeah, it's just very crackly. So I'll just sorry to stop you halfway through.
Maybe moving. Maybe try that.
Yeah, it's just got
rubbing on my shirt. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll keep going. We'll work through it.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try to. You want to start over? Or?
Yeah, just sorry, but I couldn't really hear it. It was sort of crackling. But sorry, mate. Yeah. Start again, and we'll go from the start.
Okay. Cool. I was creeping up on turning 50, and I hadn't gotten any rentals going, and so I started listening to Bigger Pockets and their podcast, and really just kind of opened my mind to all the different ways of investing besides just the standard buy a rental and hold it for 30 years, So, along the way, discovered lease options and went down the traditional path and then switched to what we're doing now.
Yep.
So,
and do you want to just sort of explain to the viewers and the listeners what the traditional lease option is for people that don't really know much about lease options? I mean, I know there's a couple of different variations, but if you would just want to do a quick overview on them so people that don't know actually understand what they are.
Yeah. Well, it's rent to own. So traditionally you have a property first and you want to sell it and get the highest price. So you find somebody that wants to buy it, has some money to give you to hold it, and you rented it to them until they can get financing. There are people that can't get financing for some reason, and there's a lot of different ways or reasons why they can't get financing. So what we're doing, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so these can vary from 12 months to 3 years to 5 years, can't they? It just depends. I mean, and that period of time gives people the opportunity to get finance. So, like you said, it's sort of like a rent to own, which obviously helps a lot of people that can't just go out and go bang and have finance straight away and buy a house straight off, say, the MLS. So, yeah, there's different time frames, isn't there? I mean, we'll get into what you guys do because that's more specific to what you do, but I just thought I'd touch on that because, yeah, there's short-term ones and long-term ones, which, works really well.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we're doing is we're finding the tenant buyer first, and then finding the home, rather than, well, like to kind of go back, the method we were taught is you call for sale by owners, try to find ones that are willing and able to sell and get the highest price by doing a lease option. We put the deal together. We find the tenant buyer for them, but finding the right tenant buyer for that specific property is hard, and also finding a, an owner that wants to sell that way and trusts you to help them that's difficult. So what we do is we work with an investor that already understands the benefits of doing a lease option, and then we match them up with a tenant buyer we've already screened. So, we work with them, find out why they can't get qualified, work with a lender that, goes through their whole process to make sure that, they can get a loan in the future. And because that's the goal, is that they get to buy. I know rent-to-own has been given a bad name by people knowingly or unknowingly putting somebody in a bad position. So that's where, like, definitely working with a lender that can go, yeah, these are the boxes they can't check right now. Here's our path forward. So you have a game plan. And then, yeah.
And how do you actually get the tenant buyer? Like, what's your process in reaching out and finding the tenant buyers, and then screening them, and then how do you have them sort of sitting there? How long will they wait? Is it like, do they go on a waiting list or something like that at the end?
A waiting list?
Yeah, like when you go out and get a tenant buyer, you say you sort of get the tenant buyer first, and then you get the property. So, how do you actually reach out and find the tenant buyer? We'll go with that process first. How do you get them? Do you advertise? Is there some particular way that you find that perfect person that's in that position for a lease option?
Yeah, we do some Facebook ads, and then our network is really helpful. Other agents and lenders and credit repair people that are in the business. So it's kind of a combination of all that. So there's a lot of filtering, finding the ones that are in a good position, to buy within 1 to 3 years. That's ideal, especially like Texas is it has to be 3 years or under. Other states don't necessarily have those rules, but if they're not going to buy within 3 years, they probably won't be able to,
Yeah.
Or maybe they will. It's just more likely if they've kind of got that window where they can.
Yeah. So, just one of the points that you mentioned there was, because you guys in the realtor space, you've got access to property managers, you've got access to landlords, you've got access to tenants, so that's a really good breeding ground to find people that are right for lease options, aren't they? That have got good rental history, they've saved a bit of a down payment, they've got some money there, and then they want to go that next step and own. So it's a perfect place for you guys with your network to be able to sort of identify these people. So yeah, that's probably something that's a little bit of a game changer, isn't it? That you guys have got more access, rather than, you mentioned before, the old way of going on Craigslist once you've got the property and then trying to find a tenant buyer in a short amount of time. So yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. And the next thing, the screening process. Have you got a pretty intense screening process to make sure you get the right fit?
Yeah, we definitely go through a pretty extensive list of questions about their job situation, and because there's, like I said, there's a lot of reasons why somebody might not be able to get qualified, and then working with a lender, pulling credit and seeing where they're at there. So ideally, it's people that are self-employed, they've got a good chunk of money saved. They just maybe were writing off too much on their taxes and not claiming enough income. So they need to flip the switch on that. If it gets into credit issues, ideally it's more like, medical bills, or, went through divorce, like it's life happened to them, and they it's fixable stuff, and it wasn't their fault. Like, just life happened, as opposed to somebody that's just constantly, being late on their mortgage or their rent payments and car payments. And, I've seen pages and pages of credit dings. It's like, they're probably not going to change, So I don't want to get our investors in trouble by bringing somebody in that's doesn't have a chance of buying in it. It's no fair to them either to get them in a position, the tenant buyer, if they're not going to be able to fix that. But sometimes things change. Have a baby, get their get their stuff together. So
So the like you said, life happens. They're trying to bounce back the trip, and part of the thing is with a lease option is they want to move into a certain area. They know it's going to take a little while to get their credit right, to work, to get a loan, to get everything in place. But they can still rent the place, put the kids in the school they want to, get started. Maybe give it a coat of paint, do the garden, clean it up a little bit, and then from there, once they've got everything in place, they can actually purchase the property and. Voila. So it's a really good thing because it serves a purpose and it helps people get into homes that otherwise couldn't get into homes. So it's a really lease options generally a really good concept. But this one, like you said, you're going out and you're identifying the tenant buyer, and then from there, you then go out and search for houses to match with the tenant buyer. Is that how it works?
Yeah. Once we kind of know their price range and the market, the neighborhoods they want to buy in, then we match them up with an investor that likes their story, likes the property, and So we'll usually use this like an example home. They don't even have to go look at it. Just it's kind of a guide, and then because in this market we might make a lot of offers and have to go find another house. So just kind of knowing that box they're looking in. That's kind of the start.
So I'll just get you to clarify this. You mentioned investors. So you've already got an investor, a landlord that's got a property. So no,
because they don't have a property. We just go look on the MLS.
Oh, okay.
Just buy it from somebody else. That way we've got that whole pool. We don't have to have anything in inventory. But if things line up and we do find something off market or have a landlord that just wants to sell, sure. It's just finding the right tenant buyer for the right property. Like in that instance is harder.
And then you've got the investor that then once you get the property comes in and finances the deal. Is that how that works?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's we're in a much better position with an investor that's putting down at least 25%. That's a much better offer than somebody like in this market that's getting beat out over and over and over, even if they can get qualified, but they're putting down 3.5% or 5%, like a FHA or VA loan. They're like, what else are we going to do? So this could be a good situation for them. But either way, that's a much more solid offer to a seller if it's 20% down. And some of our investors have the cash to pay for the house cash up front, so that's a much better one. But they typically will turn around and put financing on it as soon as possible because you're leveraging instead of tying up all your cash.
So you've got an investor coming in. It's different than it's very different, isn't it? It's you've got an investor coming in. Rather than the old traditional method is you've got someone wanting to sell, you go and you do a lease option with them, then you get a tenant buyer and you're in the middle and all that sort of stuff. So it's a lot different, isn't it? It's more structured. So it sounds really good. And generally, how long do you guys do? Did you say before, was it 3 years maximum? Or do you?
Yeah, typically they're usually at least 12 months in a day, so the investor doesn't get hit with short-term capital gains.
Yep.
So, and most people need 12 months to get whatever they need to get that fixed. So they'll buy between year 1 and 2, maybe go into a third year. So.
Yep. So you guys actually basically coordinate everything. You find
Yep.
you identify the investors, you find the house, and you have the tenant buy, and you put it all together. That's pretty much
Yep.
how your business works. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I said before, a bit of a hybrid method, isn't it? It's a bit of a
Yeah.
and
That's
it's
why we
it
call it
sounds very,
that.
yeah, very well structured, and probably a little bit
Yeah.
more. What word would I use? It's I don't know, probably safer. You know what I mean? Like it's not, like so, lease options, like you said, have had a bit of a bad name in the past because people have done them and not done them properly. Set them up incorrectly,
Yeah.
and people have, on either end have been stitched up a little bit, and it's ended up in court and that. So this is probably a lot safer method for the investor and for the tenant buyer. So and you
Yeah.
guys are working for both parties, so there's no sort of
Yep.
bias either way. So yeah, no, that's awesome. Now, how long have you had this sort of set up? When did you sort of discover? Look, we'll set this up as like realtors, and we'll do the whole thing. How long have you sort of had this business idea set up and actually functioning?
My partner Toby and I here in Colorado are, let's see, a couple years. And I wasn't licensed as an agent originally.
Yeah,
Don't have to be, but oh my God, it opens up so many opportunities to do regular real estate, regular investments, and network. The networking is huge. Just, having a good understanding of the, real estate side of it. There's a lot of reasons. And picking up commissions, all that. So,
do you want to hold your
and
cup up
then,
and do a plug? Do you want to hold your cup up and do a plug with the
oh yeah, BXP
EXP
baby.
Realty? That's the one, because
Yes.
they're national and they're actually international now, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they're starting up in Australia now. They're
Oh
actually,
yeah,
yeah.
they're in
So
multiple countries.
so and in other countries you can actually get in, reach out for investors to come back into the States and do the lease option. So it's
Hmm.
great. And I talked to you the other day, and I was probing you with a few questions, and one of the things is for international investors, it's very solid for international investors to be able to come and do. And like you said, if it's a 3 year, you know your term, that it's put together really well, and it's legitimate, and yeah, you've got a massive brand behind it, so it's actually
Yeah.
attractive for international investors. And one thing that we spoke about is like, you know, you guys basically take care of everything on the ground. You don't have to organise your own boots on the ground. You don't have to organise all that. So that's another thing. And I
Yeah.
guess what you're finding too is state to state, people across the states can do it because you've got people everywhere, haven't you? You've got a massive franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. We should probably talk about like how I got started with the business and then also advantages for the investors too,
Yeah,
especially investing from a distance. So,
yeah,
just so to back up, so we learned this business from our partner Jesse, who he's been doing it for over a decade. He was a lender first and just saw this opportunity to help people that he couldn't as a regular lender because not everybody checks off all the boxes. So
yeah.
he was a lender for 15 years and then started this business. And basically, he has a coaching program. We went through, followed what he said, and it works. so, um, so we have our own business based in Colorado. He's in Minnesota. We've got somebody in Arizona, like in different states. So, and that's a growing network so that we can have people, boots on the ground that really understand the business. But even if we're not in a state, so like we did a deal in Florida, we just partnered up with another, agent there and did a deal with a first-time investor, and yeah, it's turned out great. So
Mm.
we've got that. If anybody wants to learn the business for themselves, I can make an introduction to Jesse and go from there. But
Yeah,
yeah, for investing, lease options are such a much better option than just a regular rental because a regular renter, they've just got this renter's mindset. They expect the the landlord to take care of everything that breaks and maintenance and repairs. they've only got like a small security deposit down. And in a lease option, we're looking for people that have 10% or more of the purchase price to put down. A lot of people don't have that, but that's what we're looking for. And that 10% goes to the investor as a non-refundable option fee. So if the tenant buyer screws up, the investor gets to keep that. Like I said, we don't want that to happen. We want them to be able to buy and cash out. So, but it's insurance. It's really good insurance for that investor. It's keeping that skin in the game, is keeping those buyers, honest. And they just have that owner's mindset. They got to go pick out the house and live in it, and they're planning on buying it. So, yeah, that makes all the difference.
Yeah, that's another massive point. Virtually doing something and having tenants as opposed to someone that's got taking home ownership in their mind is a completely different mindset, and it just makes you be able to sleep a little bit better at night, doesn't it? And another thing too, and I'll check this with you, with traditional lease options, the maintenance is up to the tenant buyer, isn't it? The main sort of stuff, smaller items in the house are up to the tenant buyer, which means that you're not constantly someone ringing you to change a light bulb at 2:00 in the morning, or the toilet's not flushing, so that's another huge benefit, isn't it?
Yeah. And especially for somebody like in Australia trying to get into this market, with a regular deal, they'd have to get property management. That's 8-10%, off their profit. So in this model, they're not having to pay that. So that's huge.
What is it with you lease option guys? Every lease option guy I get on their phones ringing. Is it that good a business that you've just got deals flowing in as you're doing? I had the king himself, John Jackson, on, and he was on his phone the whole time. And he goes, "Oh, you can edit this." I go, "It's live, mate." So all I need is a trifecta. I'll get Jesse Mills in, and he'll be on his phone the whole time. But that's a good sign that your phone's always ringing in the lease options. Going back to what you're saying, for internationals and for people who are working in different states, and that it is just such makes you sleep at night that you don't have to worry about all those things. So I love it, and I've just stumbled across yourself and this concept, and I'm just like, wow. And I think a couple of viewers, I think one of them's another Australian, Warren C. He was dying for you to come on because he's loving this concept. So is there any other major benefits as well? That, I mean, we've gone over the fact that there's a different mindset, and there's also the maintenance responsibilities with the tenant buyer. So I guess for the investor, they're great things, and for the tenant buyer, we skimmed over a couple before, but the main ones are probably, you can get into an area, you can get the family settled in the area you want to be in, and then you can go and have a bit of time to pre-qualify and to clean up your credit.
Yeah. Well, there's other things we can talk about. So, I mean, just the fact that we're helping people, not taking advantage of anybody, we're helping them. That's awesome. That keeps me going. And then on the investing side, I mean, when you compare it to a regular rental, you might go buy a property. You're guessing how much you're going to get for rent. You might have vacancy before you get it leased up. There's some unknowns there. In this case, before you even close on the property, and have a document signed and option fee, so you know what you're going to make per month. You can have zero vacancy, and you have this agreement for them to buy at a fixed price in the future. So that's huge compared to regular rental. Yeah, and can typically make quite a bit more per month. You're making more cash, and just rinsing and repeating. And regular rentals, buying and holding for 30 years, that's also good. I mean, it's a proven proven things. So this is like a good way where maybe you could do 2 hybrid deals like we're doing, take that cash, dump it into a 30-year hold regular rental, kind of mix and match.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, hypothetically, you could get half a dozen on a 3-year term. The second year, get another, and you'd be constantly turning, and be doing that for a long period of time, couldn't you? So once the lease is up in the first 3, the next 3 are a year off, the next 3. So yeah, that could be another method. No, it's amazing, and you touched on the fact that you're helping people. I mean, there's an investor that's getting good return and safety and security. You've got someone that you've bought the house off has got to sell their house, and then over here you've got the tenant buyer who wouldn't otherwise be able to be in their own property. So 3 people are pretty much winning, and then there's you guys involved as well. So it's a 4 win situation. So it's
it's like 5
pretty
wins.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like when we're working with the lender, they're winning. Also, a lot of times, another agent has somebody that can't get qualified or fell out of contract, like at the last minute. We can come in and save that deal. So that agent's winning, we're winning, tenant buyer, investor. Yeah. So it's a team effort, and everybody's winning. No one's losing when we're setting it up right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I love that.
So originally, you sort of went back to 10 years. So Jesse sort of started this about 10 years ago, and you guys have been in it for a while. So there's people in other states that have been the same. They've sort of come along during the journey. So let's say someone was watching this and they thought, well, I wouldn't mind getting into this and doing what James, the Godfather Brown, does. Is I want to do what he does. Who do they reach out to? They go to Jesse? Do they contact you? Like, what's the general way they usually do that?
Yeah, have them reach out to me. I can make an introduction to Jesse. We've got a webinar that Jesse recorded that I can share. Yeah. And then I can give them my feedback on like what it was like for me going through the program and learning. Yeah. So that's valuable.
Same thing for an investor.
Done it.
Let's say there's a couple of Aussie guys over here going, we want to get into this. Same thing, just reach out to you and you can point us in the right direction, how to become an investor and like you said, how much money you got to put down, what the terms and so
we've got the link there at the bottom of hybridrealestateinvesting.com. If they go there, there's an overview video in there.
Oh, there's actually an overview video. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm, yeah, it really kind of dives into all the reasons that this is a good model and some of the mechanics of it. So then they can book a call with me afterwards if there's questions. There's always questions. So
there's always questions. Yeah. All right. So we'll park that there for a while.
Cool.
Was there any mentors that you had that you studied getting into lease options, or was Jesse one of them, one of the main ones, or was there any other people that you studied off in the States that are sort of into lease options?
Yeah, we went through Ron LeGrand's program and had a mentor through him. It's, spent a good chunk of money and just it works. It's the traditional way. It just seems like a harder way to do it. So we discovered Jesse's model and we're like, oh, click, let's do that. That seems like a much better option. So in different ways. I mean, this is a little more transactional for us, although we can do our own and be the investor on the deals we put together as well, as opposed to like the traditional where you're kind of getting in and doing a sandwich where you're getting some cash flow in between. Yeah. So, I mean, you can get that going. That's awesome too.
Yeah. So what about John Jackson? Did you ever run across John Jackson? Have you been to one of his boot camps?
I haven't met him in person, but been on Zooms with he and Jesse. I know they just went to a coaching seminar kind of thing together. So
yeah, apparently you got to go to his boot camp. I mean, I did a virtual one, and it was in Houston during COVID. So luckily, he's only done one, and it's amazing. It's like a stage show. He does comedy. He picks people out the crowd. It's just amazing. So yeah, you want to get with Jesse when he goes up and does one. I think he does them in Fort Worth, Texas, and Houston. But amazing stuff. And he does ones obviously different than you. He does the lease option assignment because he's in Texas. He does the 12-month ones, but that's a bit different to what you guys do. So the other question, I usually get into a bit of mindset and stuff. Have you got any routines or any stuff that you go through to keep you pumped up so you can obviously, keep up with the demand of what's going on with the business?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a huge part of this business. Because if you don't have like a purpose and solid mindset, you'll just give up, right? Like most investors think they're going to get into it and just bleh. But yeah, very important. And I read philosophy, some the Daily Stoic. It's a book. They basically take a quote from one of the classic Stoicism guys and then translate it into modern day terminology so you can understand what the hell they're saying.
Yeah.
So that's good. So, and there's
part
some good
of
podcasts.
your routine. Oh, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Oh, there's some good podcasts like that. The Investor Mindset podcast. Check that out. That's really cool. A friend of mine runs that, and he's more into the multifamily stuff, but it's focused on mindset. So that's a good one.
I noticed. Is that a snowboard in the background? Is that part of your regime? Get out because you're in.
That's a kiteboard.
Oh, okay.
Designed,
because you're in ski territory and snowboard territory, aren't you? Up in Colorado.
Yeah.
So
but use that in the summer and travel. So
yeah,
it's a surfboard / foil board. It's kind of a new thing. So, yeah.
One other thing I wanted to ask too is do you have any crossover? I know that you've done some sub 2 stuff as well. Do you have any crossover with any of those other seller finance? Do you work with other people that bring you stuff and say, look, this doesn't work for us, this works for us, or vice versa?
Yeah, actually, so Toby and I joined Pace Morby's sub 2 group. He's all over Facebook and YouTube. Check him out. So we joined his mentorship and formed the accountability group here in Colorado. So we're kind of leading the charge on getting some systems so that we can work together with, people that are just getting started, that are driving for dollars, but have how to put a deal together, or how to close a deal, so we can squat up and work together. So we're doing that. Toby and I aren't specifically doing marketing for, those distressed sellers, but we're working together with them. So if we'll take their dead leads. So if they find a seller that, isn't open to a wholesale deal, cash, isn't open to, a subject to type deal, creative financing, we can help them sell on market using our home boss selling system. So we've kind of got all of the lanes covered that way.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of the home boss selling system and what that is and how it looks?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I joined our team within EXP, because we've got this proprietary home boss selling system it's a combination of our pricing strategy, the way we do these mega open houses, drive hundreds of people to the open house and create a sense of competition, and then after the open house we have an online offer platform with transparent offers being made, so everybody can see what the other buyers are offering, and it gets the highest possible price for the sellers, and buyers like it too, because if they're willing to pay for the house, they're not going to get beat out by a blind offer. They're not going to overpay with a blind offer, but they're also not going to have somebody buy it and then go, oh crap, I could have bought it for, or I would have paid more, you know? So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So it's a cool way for us as agents to get listings and help
Yeah.
our sellers get the highest
Yep.
price. So yeah, we just closed on one for one of our sub 2 members. He did his first fix and flip. It could have been, he got a pretty good deal on it, but went over budget, and he might have come out even, but we got him 30 grand more than he or I thought we'd get for it. And it was a cash offer, which was ideal because he hadn't had the sewer scoped, didn't know how old the furnace was, didn't know the age of the roof. So the cash offer without those contingencies was like a safe bet for him. So yeah.
Yeah, and just you just mentioned something a second ago, and I just want to touch on it. You said, obviously at the start that you get properties off the MLS, but you do some off market, like you said with the dead leads. You get some off market stuff. What's the percentage you reckon? What is a percentage of on market that you guys get compared to off market?
For the lease options?
The lease options, yeah. I'll switch back to the lease options.
Yeah, they've all been on market.
So pretty much on market at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to say, do you work with any wholesalers that can bring you, that can get you properties that don't fit the wholesale model? They're a pretty house, and then they can bring them to you.
Yeah.
So you work with people like that as well. So you take advantage of that, but just not in a high percentage like with on market stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's cool. Just, the system works.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if there's any wholesalers watching this going, hey, I might reach out to James and say, hey, mate, if I come across stuff and they're pretty houses, can I bring them across to you guys?
Yeah,
especially
totally. I know.
It's state specific. If they're in states where you guys are set up in different states, that could be another option as well. So if anyone's watching, reach out to James, the Godfather Brown. And I'll just go over, just to touch on it again, hybridrealestateinvesting.com. Go there. James has said there's actually a video that that you can watch that explains everything. Go and check that out, because, like I said, this is a concept. This is something that I think a lot of people that have been doing traditional lease options go, I wish it was just a bit simpler. I wish I could just have to do less. So this is probably a lot more structured and a lot more solid concept. So go and check it out. We're just about on time. James, is there anything else you want to tell the viewers and the listeners? Is there any other little key points that we've missed, especially with the lease options? Or you reckon
we covered a lot there.
We've covered a fair bit, yeah.
Yeah, feel free to reach out, though. I'm available. Depending if you're a wholesaler, investor, real estate agent, want to figure out how to get into this.
And if they go to the hybridrealestateinvesting.com, is there some way they can reach out to you from there? Is there some they can hit? Yep, no worries. So you heard it, guys. Hybridrealestateinvesting.com. It's on the screen. You get to hang out with James, the Godfather Brown, as he's known around the traps. And, like you said, it's a very solid model. It's been built on integrity. And, it's a win-win-win-win-win. It's about 5 wins there. So it's something to look at. It's cutting edge. It's cutting edge lease options. So reach out to James and check it out. If you just want to go to the website and have a look at how it works first, and then reach out to James, check it out, and I guess be a part of the new wave of the lease options, which are something that will probably be more relevant also, as well as the market the heat comes out of the market, lease options start to pick up a little bit then too, don't they?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll tune out. Thanks, James, for coming in and explaining the business model that you've got and giving people the opportunity to reach out. I'm sure Warren C was on watching. He'll be reaching out to you. I'll be reaching out to you. I think every international will be reaching out to you, saying, how do we get involved in this? But no, it's very informative. And if people want to know more, like I said, hybridrealestateinvesting.com, go and check it out so you can get your head around it all and see if it's something that would work for you, or you could get involved in some way. So thanks, James, for coming on and spending some time with us. James is from Real Home Solutions. He's up there in Colorado, and like I said, he's a lease option expert, especially in this hybrid method. So awesome! Thanks for coming in. We'll sign out, James. And not only do we feel good, but thanks to James, the Godfather brand, you have been thunderstruck. See you guys.